VIII Lacrimosa of DANA is a special game for me, and that is because it was the first Yeast game I ever played just earlier this year. It made me fall in love with the series, and I've gone on to play Yeast 9 and am highly anticipating future sequels. Now, NIS America and Neon Falcom are releasing a PS5 version of what I consider an instant classic in the JRPG genre. My name's Kevin from Save the Game Media, and today we're taking a look at the PlayStation 5 version of Yeast 8 Lacrimosa of Dana. Before we get into that, if you like reviews like this or gaming podcasts, consider subscribing to our channel, hit the like button, and I want to thank NIS America for providing the code for this review. So, like the majority of Yeast games, Yeast 8 throws you into the role of Adel Christian, who is embarking on another one of his legendary adventures. When I originally played the PS4 version of this game, I was unfamiliar with the series, but despite referencing previous entries, you can jump into the Yeast series at any point and not feel lost. Starting with Lacrimosa of Dana, Adel finds himself and his trusty companion, Dogi, out at sea aboard a passenger ship called Lombardia. You're instantly thrust into the action as while assisting the crew doing security work, the ship is attacked by a giant kraken and sinks. You wake up as Adel on the island of Saren, which, according to the captain of the ship, is cursed as any ship that goes near it sinks. This is going to serve as the starting premise for your journey. And I'm going to explain why I say the starting shortly, but don't worry, there won't be any spoilers in this video. Adel is soon joined by Laxia and Sahad and establish a camp of operations on the Isle, along with the ship's captain, who you find shortly after arriving. This will serve as your base of operations throughout the entire game, with the area being home to numerous vendors such as the blacksmith and armor smith. However, in order to build up the functionality of this camp, you're gonna have to explore the island and search for survivors of the shipwreck. Not every survivor is rescued as a part of the main story, so you're going to need to go off the beaten path to find everyone. The more people you rescue, the more the camp will grow. Another aspect of growing the camp is that passengers will give you side quests to do. These usually involve gathering certain items or killing certain monsters on the island, but be aware because I didn't know this my first time. Side quests are missable and can expire. That's important to note because you need to do all of the side quests in order to get the game's true ending. Now, I do want to say that while I love this game, it starts off very slow. Chapter 2, especially, is incredibly long and drawn out. You're slowly introduced to the main enemies of the island, which in the story will be the primordials. They're basically dinosaurs, if we're going to be honest. The story behind the primordials is interesting, but the game picks up after chapter 2 with the introduction of Dana. Now, it's hard to speak about Dana without spoiling the game because she is the central focus. But I wish we had gotten to her introduction a bit faster. It almost feels like the game shifts course. And while Dana is introduced through dream visions and part of the first game, so you kind of have an idea of who she is, it's not until you can actually play as her and you're introduced to her story that is when the game really kicks into high gear. You start uncovering the mystery of the primordials and an ancient civilization and how Dana, who has amnesia, classic JRPG trope, fits into everything. It's a truly remarkable JRPG, and the writing here is top notch. While I didn't replay the entire game on PlayStation 5 yet, I was hooked when I played the PlayStation 4 version and am excited to continue making my way through the PlayStation 5 version. When you aren't doing the story or side quests, you can participate in what is called raids, which is basically a tower defense mode where you defend the camp from waves of enemies and try to get the highest score. It's fun the first few times you do it, but it does get old the more you do it, especially because in Yeast 9, there's a much superior version of this mechanic. Apart from that, you can also go on raids, which you go out and hunt enemies in a certain area that you're limited to at that time. But Kevin, you ask, it's great that it has a good story, but how does the game actually play? Well, I'm glad you asked because Yeast is an action JRPG, so no turn based combat here if that's anyone's concern. It's all done in real time. As you wander around the map, you're going to run into enemies, and unlike other JRPGs, there's no cutaway screen. You don't go to a 3D enclosed area. You can attack all the monsters you see right then and there. The combat system is similar to one you would find in a Tales of game, almost like you're playing a fighting game with combo strings of normal and skill attacks. The combat is as fast and fluid as ever and is certainly a highlight of this game. I love the animations, especially when you unlock extra skills, which are powerful skills. You build up a gauge and then you hit the two bumpers and it unleashes a super powerful attack. It's so cool. Beautiful, beautiful animations in this game. Now, as I mentioned, I did play the PlayStation 4 version earlier this year, so the difference between that and the PlayStation 5 version was instantly noticeable. The PS5 version looks absolutely gorgeous because I feel like all the colors are more vibrant and the models just look crisp and clear. The bump in resolution certainly pays dividends. It's bumped up to 4K and absolutely looks amazing. I love the art style, and while some of the textures still clearly show this as a double A JRPG, I can't deny the PS5 port is the definitive version of this game. However, that isn't to say it's perfect. In my time with the PS5 version, I was surprised and disappointed to find that they hadn't implemented any DualSense features, no adaptive triggers, no haptic feedback, nothing to really distinguish this version from the PS4 version, apart from the fact it looks better and feels better to play. That's great, but I really would have loved to see them implement something to elevate the experience to the next level. The original version came out in 2016, and 6 years later, they have brought this beloved JRPG to the latest generation of consoles. While I appreciate how gorgeous the game is, and I do think that this is the definitive version, I have a hard time recommending the PS5 version for $40 when the PS4 version of the game is on PlayStation Plus Extra. Now, if you don't have that service, then yes, $40 for this game I think is well worth it. But if you have PS Plus Extra, you can play the PS4 version at no extra cost, and it gives you a nearly identical experience. And I want to be clear that this I consider a must-play game for every JRPG fan. But without DualSense features, I have to say the PS5 version of Ys 8 Lacrimosa of Dana just gets a wait for sale from me. Well, that's it for my review. Let me know your thoughts down below. Remember to subscribe for more content like this. Come follow us on Twitter over at Save Game Media, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.